Go smoke some knocker now.
Oh, one!
Oh,
It's good, and they're skewing T-Bone down. Now we're down to two. Fex and Michael doing everything they can. And Michael did get the flush, but it didn't matter as only Michael stands. There's nothing for him to be done here. He falls. This would be incredible. Double peak, not gonna happen. Inside games, too calm under pressure. Tornado Energy have to run against the odds, but they got the smoke down. And now there goes Michael. It's all on Chepty. Oh, and Chepty does it. Shot comes back in, not instant, but it looks like it's looking pretty likely. And here comes the blue, maybe hoping that that could be his downfall, but it's Monkey to swing in and claim it. He looks collected, he looks deadly, he looks like the old Ivy, and K-Mind is holding his flank. This is the Liquid we wanted to see. Cohesive, deadly, dangerous. Where's the answer? It doesn't come in. It's Liquid. Done otherwise, you know your days are numbered. You've got to fight out of this one. Gets off the helmet, but the player hits the deck. Now the rest of them swarm in. And Exo, what a performance from these guys.
Big plays, big day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. We are here for day number 2 to figure out exactly who is going to be qualifying on to PGS. My name's Kyle Lowers, and to my left-hand side, I have Froz, and I have Avenger as well, the C-tier boy band of PUBG. And of course, I just got to start at the beginning, you know, that's how it's going to go. Gentlemen, we had a great day yesterday. Some of the teams were able to rocket up towards the top very, very rapidly. Exalt, to say the least, had a fantastic day, currently topping the leaderboard.
I mean, I think we had some fantastic games yesterday, considering the circles as well. A little bit of the unusual circles, but also means that the teams need to adapt to that, and that's what we want to see from the teams. So really good to see, and some great clutch moments as well.
And like even if we had some rough circles, we actually had some of the teams that we expected to be up in the top. We had some of the teams that are very like favorites coming into this, ending on the day very highly. Exalt, a little bit of a surprise being that far ahead and having that good games, but they really did outperform everybody yesterday.
I mean, realistically speaking, they are basically through unless they get 0 points when they actually end up playing once again for their group. It's going to be pretty easy for them to actually do well. 74 points currently, 20 points ahead of Team Liquid and WTSG. That's a massive day.
Yeah.
But also, as you can see, just below Exalt, it's pretty stacked there. All of those teams from 2nd to 5th place has a lot of points there. They gather up a lot, so I mean, it means it's going to be hard for teams coming in today to actually make sure that they can perform to the same level.
I overheard a conversation before we left where Brexco actually said to Yannick, who is from Exalt, Brexco from TSM, he said in German something like I translate a little bit in German. He said, "You have to do the world's biggest throw today to not qualify." Because what we're also looking at for PGC, for example, the top 6 cutoff was 79 points, so they need like 5-10 more points to be above that. Like it's looking very good for them, but they're looking to continue this kind of form. They want to make it a dominant performance. They want to make sure that they have the top seeding, and they want to make sure that they're blazing through and take this as continued training.
Definitely so. And let's talk about the teams that we haven't had play yet, because we have 8 more teams approaching for today. So El Giganten, ENCE, Entropy, Navi, Northern Lights team, Rahina, E-Game Stars, Raise Your Edge, and Team Unique will be our teams joining the lobby for today. Of course, 8 of our teams have already played their 6 games from yesterday. Now this is their last chance to be able to accrue some points. The teams from Group C, who's standing out to you to start things off? I'm going to leave this fully open. The stage is yours, boys.
I mean, I feel like I have 2 names to talk about. One is Raise Your Edge and one is El Giganten. That's 2 big names that I'm looking forward to see what they can actually make out from the games here today. We know that also Navi, of course, big name. They got roster change with 2 new players.
Correct.
Same goes with Raise Your Edge, but it's going to be nice to see what they can actually perform here today, especially knowing that the teams in Group A already has a lot of points as well.
Yeah, and for me, actually, it's I'm looking at ENCE as one of them. It's one of my top teams that I put in the top 6 to go through. Their roster is looking very strong on paper. They're definitely a top 6 team here, and I think they're gonna blaze through. Unique as well, one of the teams where we've come together as kind of some of the fall-offs after the roster royale, and they've come together as a very strong team as well. Looking forward to see how they're going to play today.
We also have 3 teams that played on Landtrick last weekend in Group C. Those 3 teams are Rahina, of course, that we see on picture right now. You also have ENCE and El Giganten. ENCE won that tournament. Rahina got 2nd place, and El Giganten got the 3rd place. So
very close, actually.
Very close, and those teams, they know each other. And it's a testament as well of how good those kind of teams are.
Yeah, definitely so. Just kind of whisking through some of the teams here as we take a look. It's UMCA, still more Finns always representing. There's just more and more of them here in PUBG. And for them, yesterday, it wasn't really the easiest of times. 29 points under their belt, looking to try and push things up. 3 places off what is the top 6 currently. But if they don't perform today, that gap is just going to be insurmountable.
If we're looking at, let's say the cutoff is the 79 points, they need 50 more points, which is like the double of the performance that they had yesterday. They really need to step up. And obviously it also depends on how spongy and how many points the top teams will sponge up here, and how underperforming the bottom teams will be doing. But they will need to show up. They will need to really step up today compared to what their performance was yesterday.
I mean, I guess it gets a little bit scary, right? I mean, here's Tornado Energy. They're currently in 5th place with 46 points. But I heard some of the players talking about that it is kind of top heavy right now, and if today gets top heavy as well, for teams that perform maybe middling in Group C today, tomorrow becomes a hellish train ride where you're trying to somehow catch up to these teams that have put themselves in such a strong position.
Yeah, so that's something different from team to team, how they like to play.
Sure.
Some teams want to play 2 days in a row. Some teams want to play the last day, which we know that Group A, they won't be playing tomorrow, for example. Some of the teams feel like that's less pressure to not play that day, though, because you had all the time, you've done what you could do, Now you just got to sit back, relax, and watch the games.
So you talked about this yesterday. You just asked this question here. What do the players prefer?
Yeah,
And I talked and I asked all the players in the different groups, a couple of players, a couple of different teams in all the groups, and they all come up with like the best of their own situation. They're like, oh, I like not playing the last day because all the rough stuff and all the random stuff is going to happen on the last day. And then the teams that are playing yesterday and that are not playing today, they're like, yeah, I like having a break. I like being able to come back and kind of decide my own fate.
Right.
And then the teams that are playing like the 2 first days, they're like, yeah, I like playing the back-to-back, and then like looking at it then ends. They said, yeah, I like playing back-to-back, and like they all had positives about this situation.
This is all too positive.
Yeah,
no, these are pro gamers.
I was real surprised. so they're all taking the most positive out of the situation and kind of applying that, and I think it's a good mentality to have. But I was kind of surprised. They're like, no, I was expecting someone to say, you know, I'd actually prefer to be in A, for example, or something like that. But nobody did that. Everybody like was advocating for the positive out of the situation. That was actually kind of funny.
Frost, any thoughts?
I mean, yeah, that's so nice to see because like you want to have that mentality, everything positive. That's one of the key things for you as a team coming here. This is such an important tournament. You don't want to have any negative thoughts about anything. It doesn't matter if your food wasn't good enough yesterday, for example.
Ooh,
still, that's something negative. You don't want to have that in your mind.
So, a quick question, actually, whilst we previously were looking at ENTS there. Obviously, we're very familiar on the big stages with Rustam, Squeaky, Tixu. Obviously, a great addition to the team. For me, I'm not as familiar with Digger. So, can you talk to me? Diggery.
He's been in the scene for a long time.
Sure.
And I actually asked Tixu a long time ago, and Sentex as well, the coach, and like, so why Diggery? Why is he's just a player that's been in a team where he's been making the team perform like they have, but he just never had the kind of chance to play on a stage. So they're looking at him like he's a very good player. He's gonna potentially outperform some of the guys that are veterans on this lineup. But I'm looking forward to see these guys play. I had the pleasure of talking a little bit to them, and they have big hopes themselves, of course.
Fun fact is that Diggery actually grew a little bit of a mustache, and if they get 80 points today, he's going to be keeping that one.
Oh, okay.
Permanently?
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Forever. Brilliant.
Until they don't qualify for the next tournament.
Oh, okay. It comes in waves of tournaments, I see.
guess.
Talk to me about Raise Your Edge's roster as well, because obviously big changes have happened there. Loz HD was playing in MPL for a long time, very successfully under the Rumblers, and now he is back in Europe. Of course, he's not American. He is Finnish and was one of the only Europeans playing in MPL.
They're one of the top performers as well.
One
in
of the top
league.
performers, yes.
I mean, they did finish 8th place in PGC itself, so that kind of shows what kind of caliber of player he is. But also, they got Gaxi, of course, from former WTSG. 2 really good players will make it work. That's something we got to see because they didn't qualify for GLL. That was last weekend, for example. Now this is the first time they're playing together in like a real tournament on LAN and everything.
Right, but they had, for me though, I was looking at their plays and how they were playing in the GLL qualifiers until they didn't qualify. They had some really good tendencies in terms of play style. They performed really well until they kind of hit a wall. I don't know if they weren't prepared for that, or it's just it was that new of a team. We're talking like a week old at that point.
Sure.
So I understand that, but it was exciting to see them play.
Well, let's talk about the qualifiers and what they did in GLL, because after day 1, they had a good lead. They were in first place. Then they just struck out and stopped playing and literally didn't get any points the second day and didn't qualify because of that.
Not the best of positions, as we have other teams that we need to talk about as well. Talk to me about, who shall I pick? Maybe Team Unique, because Team Unique, of course, is in a unique position where they have 2 previous members when it comes to the whole Navi roster, and Aduzi and Pokemolodoy. I personally was a little surprised that someone like Aduzi, for example, very, very big profile name, is actually moved on to another team. Maybe it was in team politics or whatever it was. But talk to me about that roster in Team Unique.
I mean, something that's great is that you brought both Aduzi and Pokemolodoy from Navi to Unique. That is always a good thing because you have the core, you have the synergy between those 2 players. So it's going to be easier for them to try to get everything on the same page, so they're playing the same game. Now, exactly how they're going to be playing together with Stand-In and play with me, that's something we got to see, honestly.
Yeah, I'm excited to see those 2 guys play, honestly. They were able to play extremely well. Obviously, they won Season 3 Global Loot League, the two guys, and were able to perform extremely well. Won a lot of money, probably the biggest performance of their life. But they managed to also play another game and then come back, and are now performing at the very biggest stage again.
All right, gentlemen, rev your engines, get ready, because it's time. Let's get this hype going. It's time for PGS qualifiers. It's day number 2. It is time to get into our first game of the day as these groups go head to head. And we're going over to the commentary team. It's Pansy and Sims for all of the action on.
Yes, indeed. We have the pleasure of bringing you all of those matches today. Starting off with Miramar, heading into Sanok then, and closing out on Erangel. No better way to do it, so I'm super excited to see this. And we have a bit of a cold front in this kind of... when I look at this group, when I look at these teams, keep in mind as well, for you guys playing at home, there's, out of all the players here, 20% of them are Finnish. 30% are from the CIS region, and we have a lot in this lobby. So this is a bit of a cold front coming through. So I'm looking forward to seeing how these players play. We get to see a lot of new teams coming in because we have that additional group now switched into the matchup. And I'm excited to see the likes of Raise Your Edge. I think it's hard to look past that roster now. There's some very big names been picked up, and they've got to step up to sort of that reputation.
Well, that's the thing. We remove one group, which will be Group B today. We remove the teams like Omicron, TSM, but then all of a sudden we're throwing in the New Look Na'Vi, Raise Your Edge Gaming, ENCE. I mean, ENCE, it's a New Look roster, the Finnish powerhouse that won Pro League EU Season 1. Okay, things didn't go too well after that, and then even when we look back to the FaZe Global Major, it wasn't the best of showings, but they stuck it out. They stuck as a roster for the entire 29 season, and now they're back for 2020. You put Tixu on there. Tixu was probably one of the strongest individual fraggers that we saw throughout Pro League in Europe. And I think you really you might be getting it, Lauren.
I don't believe it. I don't believe it till I see it
There's
anymore.
a chance that you might get the island.
I've been hurt in the past. That's all I'm saying.
It's kind of just shown and says, no, we'll take it away now.
Exactly.
But yeah, when we look at these groups, there's definitely some powerhouses between this. I think the one thing that we maybe didn't really set the standard and set the tone yesterday with how much is on the line for these teams. There's only 6 that can advance from this entire group stage.
Yeah.
We do have 3 groups. We have another day tomorrow. Remember, for Group A, once they're all said and done today, that's it. You could say they can kind of relax, but unfortunately it means that their life...
It's not normally like that way, is it?
Their life's in other people's hands.
Yeah.
They're going to sit here and just wonder, well, are we going to qualify, are we not? Only 6 teams can be advancing. Yes, everyone gets a little bit of money today, or at least this weekend. You'll see 7th to 16th, they'll walk away with $4,000. 17th down to 24, they'll get $2,500. The bigger thing is, if you walk away from this, you qualify for the first major of the year, and more importantly, you are guaranteed a minimum of $20,000.
Big jump up, big money, big goals to be had there. People need to aim towards this. This is what they're going to be working towards. Money is something that's certainly there, and as a viewer, as a commentator, we see it, and obviously it's a big number, so it's hard to ignore that. But I promise you, these players, they're not thinking, okay, well, one more kill and I get X amount more money. It's a lovely thing after the fact, but in that game, that mentality has to be so focused on what's in front of them. Now, with a circle like this coming in, I have to look at who's in the strong positions right off the offset, because a lot of the teams aren't. We actually have a pretty decent spread towards the west here. A lot of teams kind of pushed out a little bit further than what we saw last time. There's quite a centralized bunch. We have Na'Vi all the way off, which is not too surprising. They've played that game before, didn't go for their southern drop. I don't know if they still really work on that, considering it's a roster shuffle team. Now, who's in the circle here? Exol, hard to look past, very strong performers, showing that they can not only play for position, play their end game calmly, but they have fraggers on that team. ENCE as well, a solid start for them with this circle.
It's a very difficult one and a bit of an IGL nightmare where you decide to put yourself on this circle. For people who like to be looting on the eastern side, it'll be they get the pick of the bunch, right? They can get their gear and then get off rather quickly. For others, not so much, because there's limited landlock here when teams are going to be rotating in. They're going to hit that western embankment of the circle, and they could be met with force. There'll be people playing border control. There'll be people playing edge here because they want to stay away from the water. Unless we get that eastern shifts, and then you know instantly we're going to the island. Simple as that. The eastern shift comes in, it's not going to go anywhere else. It can't bounce back that far. But you have to get that hard shift to enable to being able to actually order to get those island ones. So it's quite hard, and you're relying on a lot of things. Hey, anything's possible and anything can happen, but you will get a lot of teams that aim toward that western side because of where the water is and because of how limited land is going to be, and that's the most dire straits thing about this circle now. It's how limited space will be.
And did ENCE get the big compound? I assume they did. I don't know if Exalt went for it. I'm not too sure on how they play on this eastern side, but ENCE would often go for the kind of, it's quite an isolated compound, but it's incredibly strong because it's right in the middle of a kind of flat area. So it's very hard for teams to crash it. It's very hard to do anything, and the circle often heads that way. So in my eyes, if they have claimed that early on, they are arguably in the best position coming into game one. Beyond that, the western approach, as you highlighted, is going to be pretty rough for a lot of these teams, as there won't be that great deal of space in the prime area, because it's actually quite an open section. If you want to look at the map right now, you'd be looking from kind of Team Liquid to ENCE to Blaze. There's not a lot there. Yeah, there's a couple of small bits and pieces, but it's certainly not the huge areas, the bigger compounds you like to have. I saw top up there of the threes coming out. Not sure if anyone's going to get some shots towards it. I don't think they are. But it looks like we might have the first bit of contact. I'm not sure if they're going to scout that. They did. They don't fancy that one. Maybe feeling as though it's not quite worth it.
Well, either cop for the player or maybe even cop for a vehicle. If you see a vehicle up against a doorway, you know that someone's going to be there. Usually most hide it, and that's more importantly to defend your tyres and hide your tyres away. And you can see from Trico just laying it on that plateau there out of harm's reach. But yeah, when we look at this circle, two places that are quite vitally important will be the junkyard down to Impala. Between there, they're not exactly inside the areas as such, but just on the outskirts above and below. There's some very strong areas that we tend to see circles moving towards because of the ridgelines, hills, and so on and so forth. Again, with this map, it's a lot more predictable than any other ones we have in PUBG just because of how the ridges work and the inaccessible terrain. Teams have read this by now. They've done the research, they've done the work, they've been in the maps, they've looked through every single God knows nook and cranny of this entire thing, and they know where things tend to go. This is why we're seeing a large quantity of teams heading towards the centre. They're banking not only on this coming towards the western side and hitting land, but really between those two areas, generally this is going to go central. If it does just hard shift somewhere else, then it gets a little bit more fun. But it also still, there is an element of predictability. Because of those two areas, you're going to go north or south.
Well, there's the first couple of shots going through. Blaze are under fire. They tried to slot in just south of Team Liquid, but a team's come up right towards them. Adepts actually pushed up pretty handedly. Ferrex's nade is very precise, and that should be pretty much completed there. I'm not sure if a trade's going to come back in, but they are drawing a lot of attention. As you can see, Noki has suffered because of that. Already, AD need to be a little bit careful of this one because they are in a very, very... I guess, visible area. Luckily for them, there is a little bit of cover just because of the way the hills kind of roll down towards the road. But beyond that, you've got a lot of teams surrounding now. And as you can now certainly notice, Aduzi has taken notice of this.
We've seen both Aduzi and Team Liquid putting a few pop shots into these individuals. Oh, one team on the pull-up on the back. EYG just trying to find some kind of area that they want to go for. This isn't too bad, provided that there's no one on that opposing ridgeline behind you. You are going to be able to use that embankment to your advantage and maybe just pull the vehicles up and hunker down. The problem is if someone is behind you and has that line of sight onto those vehicles, they will take all the tyres out and then you're just locked into that one position. Unfortunately, someone comes your way. And this is exactly the scenario that I was speaking about. They've gone for the hills. They thought, you know what, we can just kind of scout off of this. But having a player up here and someone like Aduzi, who we know is an absolute monster of a fragger, he's going to poke you. He's going to be a nuisance. He's just going to take away your tyres, maybe just put a bit of damage down, and it's forced EYG to move.
Yeah, and EYG's position, as much as it does look very, very treacherous on the minimap, it does have hard cover. They are pretty comfortable to a lesser extent. Yeah, down the line, if you have to leave that area they're in, it is pretty much a death run. But for now, a lot of teams are banking on the fact the circle is simply going to close right towards in between Liquid and ENCE. And somewhere north, I guess, of where we saw Noki and the boys getting some issues earlier. Gaxi going to get some information there. And I have to say, if Razor Edge or Na'Vi come out well in this game, it will be a real testament to how well they're playing, because they've certainly not had the easiest of entry points. This is what surprised me and always impressed me about Na'Vi back, when they first had that roster shuffle at the start of PEL, way back now. They played this game very nicely, but I don't know if that's going to be able to translate, because they might clash with Razor Edge here, which is probably a very rough fight for them to be welcomed in towards, as it looks like Lost HD is actually set up here, and that's a bit of a rough circle as well. Slightly further east than I think a lot of the teams would have liked. Plenty of water into play. It does still contain the island, so it could still shift further south, for example, once that land percentage comes into play.
It couldn't be more brutal. It still doesn't give you any information of where this will be heading. You've got to go for the betting man's game, and you've got to say we'll come towards the island, but these circles can be very, very cruel and very, very misleading. Anything can happen on a single day. Initial knock comes through. Frorax down. That's a big player for AD that we've seen perform yesterday. So to lose him will be costly. More shots coming to fire, but they'll suppress him for now and at least be able to hide him. Remember, Entropy, they're actually hiding here because of a doozy earlier on, just forcing them into the position. You can see the car in front, trying to make these approaches to the buildings. There's just no way of being able to do it. Unique still lingering in the back lines. A doozy is actually going to be quite important here. For the simple fact he'll be giving all this information. His job was to scout out, and not even to scout and find things, but to make sure people don't get to this angle and to give his team the info. However, it hasn't played out that way. If he was on the backside of this cliff, then fair play. He didn't have the time to come across and answer this call. The problem is for AD, because of the initial shots from Entropy, they are broken apart completely.
Now, taking this into the bigger picture, let's look at where these teams have opted to go. It's kind of the head north or head south. Temid did get knocked. I think that was actually from Blaze, quite far away. A good couple hundred meters on that shot. So I think he might be lost to the wild here. Probably claimed by Blaze in the end. It looks like they are getting the shots down. The tracer fire coming through will be from them. Now, outside of that, we've got Razor Edge heading south. We do have the other Finns heading south as well. Blaze kind of staying where they are. But most of the teams have looked like they want to go north here. You have Tornado Energy heading up that way, Northern Lights, Team Liquid, and now Na'Vi. So a lot of these players are going to be very close by, and if this doesn't stay north, if this does go towards the south, including those islands, all of those teams are now going to be kind of out of luck here.
It's the little micro things what are kind of annoying to me, or annoying to these individual teams as such. You look at Timmy going down in that form, they're committing a lot of smokes to it. That's a lot of utility. 4 smokes, I think I saw up at one point. When we talk about late game, we talk about how little land's going to be able to play with on this circle, regardless of where we go. You need those smokes. You kind of need to make a judgment call. Do we res him? Do we not? Is it pointless? Is it good? To commit 4 smokes and then say, well, you know what? It was actually a bad choice.
Oh, no.
Stuff like that's kind of a waste for me. Yeah, you do just take those hit and miss moments. It is one of those things, and the Sonar Boys, or the ex-Sonar Boys, should I say, they're a damn good set of players. We've seen them for many years now, kicking it around in PUBG, so it's just going to be one of those things. But still, to lose a load of utility, we'll see if it does, unfortunately, pay a factor in the late game. Melman opting to disconnect here because he knows Na'Vi is wandering around, or at least certainly has heard the vehicles and seen the players. That's a large open amount of land you've got to run there if you don't have a vehicle, my friend.
Oh, and Elgiganten are actually already finding a couple of shots towards his teammates, so they might not be able to support as handily as he would like it. He might be very much out on an island on his own, as Na'Vi need to work their way in. They can't really go around that. That might be a forced fight happening. And in the south, Razor Edge are going to have the same issue. They have Nookie and the gang behind them, and then remember, we have Pokemolodoy, a doozy, and all of them holding the southeast side of Impala. So the vision's going to be there. Melman's making a run for it. Tagged up from Senya. The headshot was primed, but it looks like Melman might know he does not get away. Basilosh is the one to find him. And actually, that was example. Wow, okay, this is a bit of a problem. It looks like Tornado Energy have really lost out there to Na'Vi. A little surprising. I thought it might be Elgiganten to catch a couple of them off, but they managed to find some safety from them, but then lost out. Now, Circle has shifted, Rich. What does this mean? It
means it's going to be rather cruel, because once we go to number 4, we're going to go all the way to the west and pull from that water's edge at least. There is no room to play here, not for 16 teams. This is going to be a bloodbath. You'll see
they're all moving quick. Look at
everyone's going to be diving into the oil factory, maybe even scouting the edges of Impala. Honestly, it's just a land grab. Take what you can find, whatever's available, any compound, any shack, because outside of the oil refinery area and all the main bits, really, it's open land. It's literally field there.
Yeah, now looking towards the south, we do see the bit of the backstab coming out, and Gaxi has fallen foul to it. I think it might be flushed out, but keep in mind, look up towards the top. There still will be other players looking to pick up these kills. Gaxi did go down regardless. That's not really the big factor here, but the southern side, it looks like it's closed. It looks like the entry point is not available, and the rest of Razor Edge still have to run that way, so Lynxy, Lost HD all have to work their way up, which is not going to be pleasant. Liquid, Northern Lights, Elgiganten getting gate kept out by Elgiganten here. Already getting a couple of knocks, a couple of kills coming through. Tornado Energy trying to lay low as they're being hunted down by Na'Vi and in between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, just keep a close eye on that kill feed. There'll be so many players that'll be falling in these next transitions, especially against the next circle. Teams like ENS, team like YMCA that are up against that large rock area that you can't go to. The circle can't make its way there, so it'll eventually be ping-ponged around or moving. These teams now need to read ahead of this circle. Wonder what's the next move, what's the next step, what's available, scout it out out, but be careful. Because there's so many players alive. For me, in this kind of scenario, it's not the land you have now. Yes, it's damn important, but you need numbers. You need your team to be able to fight these engagements and take land away from people.
Had to land that. Now, Na'Vi have been forced way further forward. Tornado Energy do have the hard cover. You can see them well aware of who's knocking at their door now. A little bit of a sloppy peek, but the nade was good. That's going to force Tab down. No way he's going to be picked up anytime soon. That's going to be a hard one for them to get back through. Kemba wants to refrag this, tries it, can't get it, but he's tempered them at least for a second. But the nades are doing really well as El Giganta are closing in themselves. They're sweeping around from the north. Northern Lights are behind them, so they have a time limit on this. They have to push and push fast. You can see the calls being made. The shots have come through. The Deep's already found one of them, so they know who's behind them now.
This isn't looking good for Na'Vi. Losing two huge players like that back-to-back simultaneously from two different rosters. That allows Elegant maybe to get into a better position and move in on this. But as you touched on it, Northern Lights are directly hot on their heels. Morphis has gone. Nail up onto Senya. The third one from Na'Vi falls. One man standing. This is bad. 1, 2, 3, 4 teams all on the CIS boys. And if Kemba doesn't survive this or get inside a house and pray for dear life, that's Na'Vi going down in 16th.
Yeah, it looks like Exalt are getting a little interested too. Shiv's over there. It's gone north now. Again, Team Liquid, Welcome South George have played this perfectly. They've held, they've stayed calm. Welcome South George actually got really good positioning in this one. Ents will finally have to move. They are now going to be forced towards it. Kemba still trying to stay alive, but there's so many threats on so many fronts. He might just go into frag out mode and try and take some players with him.
That's all he has to do. Pick up as many points before you go down. You can see Shiv's cooking a nade, so someone else smells action in this one. Oh, it's these kind of moments where there's just so many players looking for a room to get in. WTSG and Liquid, you touched on the position. It's fantastic. More importantly, it's in a great place to just welcome people with open arms. You have to rotate to them. Ents, YMC have got something as Shaq. It's not very much. Ents are going to have to scout out those compounds. Everyone else on the northern edge, whether you scout, if not, you've got to fight. It's as simple as that. 4 teams can't survive there. If NLT are really, really clever and really smart about this, yes, it's a ballsy play, they could mop up. If they want control of the northern edge of the circle, they have to kill, they have to frag. But there is a bonus side to that. You're going to get points, you're going to get the placement as well.
Now, in the south, this is a very hard run for Raise Your Edge and a Doozy and all of these guys down there. That's going to be a very hard bit of play. Kemba's desperately doing what he can against Tornado Energy, but they are going to be working together, hopefully, and he's down to nothing. He does go down, and Na'Vi out in 16th. Big loss for them, but we said it earlier, Raise Your Edge and Na'Vi had very hard circle positions to come in towards. Lost HD has fought its way forward with Cold Dementa still standing, as already you can see Standings trying to get ahead of them. They've tried to leapfrog forward, but they've been met by resistance further up north. Not in the circle, any of this. This is just purely to try and get steps towards the right positioning down the line.
It's really difficult because outside of Impala, you completely have to eject the entire town yourself. There's nothing left there. Lost HD goes after the vehicle. All he needs to do is blow it up. Oh, he's got the tree, so maybe he survives this. Gets the heal off. Nades start to rain forward. He has support from his teammates. Good angle, though. Play with me. On the left, peak. Lost HD goes down, and that's a bit of a loss. More importantly now, because Coldamenta has to answer this. If he wants to go for the res, and I spoke about it earlier on, you need as many players possible. I know that's the general gist of the game, but with a circle like this, when there's very little room to breathe, you need as many men as humanly possible on the battlefield, because it comes down to a numbers game. Refrags, trades, play with me. With a second, disallowed. 15th place will be them. Coldamenta might be able... Can he get the... No, he cannot, so he actually loses loss during that engagement.
Yeah, and he might not make it in either. You still have a couple of other players watching that southern side, and even beyond that, crossing into the new circle at the very end of this run is going to be incredibly hard. And it's a little shame to see Lost HD go down. I like casting this guy. He's a very exciting player to watch. Very powerful, packs a punch. Welcome South George going to start welcoming people up in the north. They're in a happy position to really keep some attention going for themselves. Ents have kind of slowly worked their way in on the western side. Liquid in front, and then Welcome South George further ahead. And unsurprisingly, a little bit of a shame, Raise Your Edge have also gone down. Two teams who had a very hard rotation route coming in have suffered because of it. This circle is punishing, we've said it, but the teams who've now got the real nice positioning, Phantom's one of them, they're still pretty happy. Exalt cannot be looked past. They basically control the entirety of the East.
Ents have moved from the safety net of the rock side and compound that they have, but they are kind of skirting the edge of Team Liquid's territory. There's nothing else really they can do. They can't go towards the south or the east for the simple fact that around the rock side they'll be out in the blue. YMCA are going to be holding the shack, which I actually do remember Squeaky playing a pretty mad game about a year ago within that shack that YMCA are holding. So maybe he does the same again and advances forward and takes that from them. YMCA, we kind of said this yesterday, for a team that's new to the big leagues as such, and that's no disrespect, but there are some big rosters here and you are playing in your first major tournament like this. They're playing scared again. Credit where credit's due. You can't do a real lot out in the open. But it's the same scenario of just hunkering down and praying for dear life. The times that we saw it yesterday, it's not camping as such, but it is playing extremely scared for me and a little bit too passive. When you're in such an aggressive lobby like this, it only takes one team to just pull up or lob a grenade in there and they're all dead.
And now everyone's closing in. Tornado Energy, oh, they've been warded off. Yeah, not going to come that much closer towards WTSG. Bye-bye, they've been found. Everyone instantly turned and paid attention. They were making that mad dash from the north. Maybe they felt that was the only option they had left for them, and I guess you have to pick your poison there. I don't know if there was any other way to go. You had Exalt just towards the east, so you were going to be forced into that. El Giganten still have, I think, maybe one alive holding on, but it feels like a matter of how long. Northern Lights have managed to stay alive with 4 in the north, which is more surprising. Actually, there's a bit of a crunch in the south. The northern side is about to get a little bit busy too once they work their way in. Certainly could grab the attention of some players, but now, down in the south, Blaze still have a player there. Phantom has a player there. There's a lot of individuals in the southern side. There goes the remainder of El Giganten, trying to play it slow and careful as the Northern Lights clear it out methodically, and I like that from them.
Send it. Get your vehicles in and send it. It's the last little shack before you enter the circle. Oh, actually, is it in? Yes, no, it isn't. It is the last little shack, so they are going to have to pray. Ridgeline extremely slowly here for the fact that Team Liquid and WTSG have heard those shots. Any movement from the vehicles, any kind of rotate, I'll hold for now. Shiv is doing the same. Bullet from a hell of a long distance. That's from the other side of the map. That kind of subdues him for now. If the player's closer, you will be able to hear those meds going off. I think he's too far and probably too fixated on what's going on below him. Because that rock, Shiv's job is to hold 3 teams back, because the only way to get behind Exalt at this point is to go up and over. You're literally going to have to rock climb this, and if they do come from behind, that's when Exalt are in a difficult position. They have to fight 2 battles on 2 different fronts. If Shiv can hold this, he can rally the troops and hold support, or he can just frag out. He is in an elevated line of sight position. He could just simply kill them.
And again, the action slowed down slightly. Squeaky's in danger. I think maybe he got spotted there. He had moved up towards one of those shacks. It actually isn't a shack, excuse me. It is simply just the hay bale. So it is always going to have a weak side there. And it seems like Entropy has found that sore spot to poke at. So, and it's gone north. Liquid, welcome to South George. WTSG hold all the cards here. Hence, if they can support Squeaky and maybe, I don't know, bolster that position, that could be decent to hold from, because there's not a lot here. That's what we're saying. It is very, very limited. A lot of open space. So if you still have vehicles, great. But if you're one of those southern teams, suddenly you've gone from quite a calm game, you know, you'd held your rock side, and now there comes Shiv. It was a matter of time, it felt like. He was patrolling, he was lurking and lingering in these rocks, waiting for anyone to get a little bit too comfortable, and he's found the timing. But he could get wrapped on here if he gets too tunnel vision, but he's going to be a nuisance, and he might just find Noki if he's not careful.
I love this. It just holds so much. And oh, look to the left. I think
he didn't see him.
Oh no, he has now. That's the follow-up at least.
Oh, really nice covering work from Monkey. Called in, and this is something that I want to highlight about Exalt. It seems like they have good communication here. Laza is right behind 1, 2, 3, 4 players. If he gets through the smoke, if he sees one of these players just out in the open, what can he do with it? He's tracing him in. He's gone for the spray. He's going to find finally 1 down, 3 to go. But now shots from afar come in, and Sakura knows what's going on. Laza's found a bit of cover, but for how long can he keep it? Maybe a flush could be good for him here. Get some points, goes for the heal. This man wants to play the long game. A little bit dangerous considering the blue is right there. 6 HP, 1, just about alive. Oh, he's going to take him down with him. That is devastating. He just about stayed alive to do this. If he can make it further, that would be a miracle, but good enough work from him individually. Going to try and make the best of a bad situation. Claim those points as he goes. We are seeing everyone now closing in towards WTSG. They're getting a lot of attention now. This is not looking so clean anymore, as they're looking a little bit worse for wear. Exalt is now knocking on the door from the east.
Losing 2 players like that in such a priority compound and a strong position is devastating. devastating. Nail-Up knows this, and so does the rest of Exalt. They're getting involved. The grenades are out, and in we go. The initial contact has been made. Miraku goes for the res on Ira. Seong, though, this could be difficult. Unless Vard can hold them off, he will die. Vard answers back. That's a good stoppage for now. It puts some kind of cap on the bombardment that comes out of Exalt, but there's still 3 players up. Seong falls down. 3 versus 3 will continue. Liquid, they're back building. They're holding point, but Ibiza is scouting area. Ents, they're back. They're doing work. YMCA is also on the move. They need to be careful because they'll be tripping on their territory. Rustam Mar falls. Jeems follows up with Squeaky. 2 down back-to-back like that. Looks like TL know exactly where all events are.
Yeah, Ence's luck of having position is starting to run out. They're running out of options, safe areas to play from. The South looks like it's coming to a close. It seems as though Phantom has won that battle. They managed to hold their position. Everyone else now in the open has to suffer the fate of what Liquid have been building quietly and slowly. And the nade is good. It's going to flush out Diggory, but Dixu is still standing, so Ence still have a little bit of hope here. Can he hold it for long, though? Because it looks like Jeems fancies this one, and no, Mexi's right there. Liquid trying to control the map, being proactive, being deadly. Exalt on the other side, they lost Naylor, but Udir might follow similar fate as he's down to a 1-shot, looking to calm it down, looking for a new way in. WTSG were not going to give up those buildings, so they've rotated south, maybe looking to punish those trying to work their way in, get points in another fashion. 5 kills already is a certainly good start for it.
Exalt are re-wrapping. They're just got to be careful off the back of that rock side. They don't find all the teams from the Phantoms. Remember, the Phantoms need as many points as possible. I think they only picked up 7 yesterday, where if they have a bad game or two, just today, straight off the bat for them, they are not qualifying whatsoever. This is a big battle for Exalt. If they win this, they do then get the compound that Batulin's in. Obviously, they have to fight Batulin first. Deez goes down, K-Mind at distance. That's going to help them out now. That evens the numbers at least and removes a tiny bit of pressure. Liquid, they're just monetizing off of everybody's fates at the moment. This is fantastic work for them, looking at all this damage in the back, but it's causing so many teams so many problems.
Yeah, Liquid have found the perfect timing on the form here. Can't overstep, though. That's a problem. Jeems going down is going to be a loss. Instant flush. Exalt is eliminated, though. They've lost out on their southern swing. Phantom stays alive. Liquid continue the hunt. They want to take on everyone in the lobby. They're going free farming here. Now, K-Mine's already done well. Those 2 kills look perfect beside him, but they need to be careful to not give up too much. They're spread quite thin, and they might need to regroup after that loss of Jeems. So it looks like that's the plan for now. Fall back together as WTSG has started their move towards the south. Look at them sweeping as 3. Northern Lights might be dimmed any second now. Vard going to be clearing as he goes. Batulin's on the side. Nice timing on the peak, but now the swarm begins. That's Miraku's work coming in swift and not going to be messing around. Iroh's still standing, but there, a nade from afar. That's Phantom. That's the Molotovs coming through. This is the remaining battle. 3 teams, all slightly broken and beaten, all have 3 players alive, so 9 currently stand.
The issue with throwing that Molotov now gives away the information to WTSG. They know where the Phantoms are. Yes, you may have heard shots and had some kind of rough idea, but now you know they're just lingering over the hill. They're within arm's reach. They're within distance. Mexi will hold that off angle all the way back against the circle to try and keep the Phantoms in check when they want to move. Circle is favorable to Liquid. Everybody has to come their way now. WTSG, to get themselves back into this one when they had 2 players down, it's pretty damn good. For Phantoms, a win here would be better. It would be phenomenal and a fantastic way to try and get themselves back in the game to make it to Berlin.
They might be able to isolate Mexi. I don't know. He's a very, very calm, well-rounded individual player, and he does have the supporting side of Ibby and K-Mind to ensure that no one's coming from the other direction that can peek him. So he can just tunnel vision towards Team Phantom, but their utility has, you know, some legs to it here, Phantom. They can build a little way in. It looks like they've managed to put 2 players in towards the new circle. WTSG are about to do the same. Miraku and Vard have also pushed up. They're going to late play on Iroh to ensure no one swings around from the south to the east. You can see it on the map. They're going to hold back. It's a bit of an even situation for WTSG and Phantom, so you can look at those almost in a similar fashion as Liquid maintains so much control of the rest of the map.
I like how Liquid have been approaching not just this game, but the ones that we saw yesterday. These individual players will happily sit on their own. Yes, we see the 2-2 splits when it's needed, but holding these off angles just it denies any space to move. There's no breathing room at all, and it's so claustrophobic to teams that want to try and advance forward.
K-Mind, let's go. Let's see if that spray's just as good. He's already found 2 pretty decently ranged kills, and that's going to be another. I don't know if that's recoverable, the nade. I'm not sure if it's far enough. We'll find out.
Oh, boy.
It's pretty close. It's pretty damn good. K-Mind going to claim it, and now this looks like the go point for Phantoms. They're kind of bubbling up a little bit, getting a little bit closer towards WTSG. They haven't decided to push, as there is a little bit of elevated ground, which probably Liquid could be able to see them on. Now, WTSG might just try and find the kills themselves here. Very close by. Vard gets the first couple of tags. K-Mine's not done. This scar in his hands looks very, very deadly. Sprays away with the 4. Making it look like a 10 out of 10 as Ibby just off to the side. Look at these complementary positions. You said it. They don't need to be on top of each other. They know these angles are covered. They can just hone in here. As long as they don't get too distracted, too overwhelmed, they should be able to free farm this lobby. And K-Mine's coming into his own. We've been waiting to see this young man really step up in this team, and this might be the time. Recrent does get punished, and there goes WTSG. Just pins it in. Now, what's left on the other side? There's not much for Phantom here, but if they're individually stepping up, maybe there's something. Buster's looking 3'd up, so that could be some damage going back towards Liquid. But Liquid have 3, so they have the advantage of numbers.
Ooh.
And K-Mind is looking deadly today. Is there more? He doesn't need it. Mexi's got his side. And Liquid kick things off like champions.
Banging day yesterday, even better start today. 20 points on the board just like that. 10 kills, 10 points from the win. That is a very, very good start. Calm, collected, and more importantly, controlling. How they just disable teams' movement at the end is wonderful. Putting individual players, Mexi, K-Mind, I mean, I'm not going to take anything away from Jimbo or Ibby, but having them play solo Ranger statistics and just sitting on pylons at the back of each map and watching, it's bottlenecking. It's so claustrophobic to rosters. They can simply not move. You saw Phantom, you saw WTSG. They were together and for good reason. There was nowhere else to go.
Yeah, having players of that caliber, when you get the likes of K-Mind, when you get these people that you can set up as more of an individual, you can just see how much that works for them. You don't have to be right next to them. You don't have to be in instant trade range. You can simply just trust them to be able to hold that, and then the supporting angles that were coming through from the rest of them pay off so well. So already really good stuff from Liquid. I'm glad to see a quick little hit from them, but I want to see the rest of the lobby now. So let's head down to the interview so we can get those next games coming up nice and quick.
Liquid grabbed the opening win here of day 2, and K-Mine, I've got to start with you guys, because yesterday you were not so happy with the performance overall. I saw a bit of frustration. You got a win on game 5, but how are you feeling now? Do you feel like you've kind of smoothed things out?
So we're a pretty new team together, so it's always a learning process. Whenever we do bad, it's an opportunity for us to learn. So every game we do bad, we learn, and for the last few games, I already feel a lot better. Like, you feel like the team has more of a solid ground.
Now, in terms of what you've just been able to do here, you had full control towards the end of the circle there. Was it very confident with you guys, even with one player down, to be able to say, okay, look, we should easily be able to close this one out?
Yeah, at one point we weren't sure if we should keep that much of a circle control, because there was a lot of grass. It's a field, so there could be a snake a little bit everywhere, but we had a pretty good tracking of the kill feed, so we just held our ground and we did good, yeah.
Now, James, I'm going to ask you, because yesterday, right, you guys obviously got to play where some of these teams didn't have this opportunity. Do you think this gives you a nice advantage coming in a bit hotter today?
Oh yeah, definitely.
And in terms of these other teams that have been what they've been able to show here, is there any ones you're looking at? Because obviously Exalt, they did so well yesterday, they surprised a few people. But is it now like, okay, look, we're feeling more confident despite being a newer team in terms of putting this roster together? You feel like, okay, we can get the job done and prove ourselves here?
We can definitely get the job done. When it comes to other teams I'm looking at, I think Tornado Energy is really good at fighting together. I think they work very well together when they fight, so yeah.
And in terms of the next couple of games, right, you've now got your second win on the board. How many more wins are we going to see today?
2 more.
2 more. I like the confidence, I like the guess. Let's see how the rest of this goes. Let's get back to the desk.
Max is a poet and he didn't know it. There you go. It's time. We're back here at the desk. Big congratulations once again to Team Liquid here for being able to pick up another win off the back of what we saw yesterday. And now that moves them up to 74 points, which was already what we saw with Exalt coming into today. Of course, they did score a few more points throughout that game. Joining me, Froz and Avenger. Gentlemen, a very eastern circle. Very unlikely, even with that circle, it was going to go to the islands anyway, which meant, very early on in that game, very limited playfield to start things off.
Yeah, but we did see some teams going on the east side, close to the beach, preparing themselves in case it would be an island circle. But as we know, it wasn't even close, kind of. And we saw that a lot of teams actually were kind of on the west side. Of course, it's going to be super stacked over there. But we had a few teams that played it really well and got themselves into really good positioning pretty early on, I'd say. And it was like Liquid, Welcome South George, and of course Exalt.
I really like these kind of rare circles. I've probably only seen this exact circle or in this area like once or twice before. So I really like this because this is kind of the curveball that is thrown at the teams, and this is what the kind of the challenge that they have to go through. So a lot of the teams made some decision. We're like, you're sitting here, we're looking, we have all the information available to us, and we're looking, why are they doing this? But they actually, some of the decision making, some of the kind of rotation they did, actually turned out quite well for them. Phantoms, one of them, kind of surprised they made it so far. They did also get a decent amount of kills from it, so it's nice to see.
I mean, given the circles that we've had throughout the 2 days already, just 7 games in now, it feels like WTSG have been able to proactively react very well to circles, how they're choosing which compounds to take, etc. And once again, it pays off here in this game.
Yeah, it definitely did pay off. But it's not only that they have the compound, but also how they were playing it. You can see how they left the compound towards the end of the game there, trying to sweep out everyone on the south side and then move back in because they knew, all right, that south side is now safe. We can focus on west. We can focus on north. Let's see a scout from cover and see what we can see.
Let's take a look at those points rolling on in for match number 7, as actually quite an even distribution when it comes to points to get things going for our first game of the day. Unfortunately for El Gigante and our full Polish squad, they'll only be walking away with the 1 point. Let's move on to our 1 through 8 and up to the top team Liquid. There's 20 points roll in for them, and Team Phantom actually with 12 points. They didn't have the best of days yesterday. It's a nice start for them, but they've got to keep a big pace if they want to go forward.
This is the kind of start you want to have if you want to have a chance making it into the top 6, honestly. They had 7 points yesterday. They need to have these kind of games to have even have a chance to get into the top 6. We can see the teams already rolling in points. It's going to be very top heavy. Exalt, Team Liquid, WTSG, they're already, like, they're most likely, they're projected to around the 100 points plus, all of them. So they're looking very good already.
Absolutely. 10 kills, 1,600 damage for Team Liquid. Pretty damn efficient with their damage distribution throughout this game.
Yeah, I mean, that's the Team Liquid we know and we want to see, right? We always know that Team Liquid has always had strong lineups. And once again, even changing 2 players, they're showing, again, that they are one of the best teams in the world.
Indeed, they are. So, as a start, obviously, to Miramar, it's not exactly the easiest one, especially for a lot of those teams over on the west side of Miramar when they're actually dropping. How did you anticipate a lot of those teams trying to get over to the circle, how they were going to position themselves to kind of keep going?
So we had a really eastern circle, right?
Yeah.
The most surprising, obviously, was that the second circle was basically the play mass of around what third circle was.
Correct.
So the teams were already like, okay, we're going to have to play this from either the northern side or the southern side because it's super hard to get in from the west. It's already super camped. They had a lot of teams that are already making sure that they couldn't get in there. So
yeah.
But you saw some kind of send-it strats. You saw some of the teams that are like, you know what, people don't usually play around the northern factory in Impala, so they went into there. We saw a lot of fights in that area, but it's super rare due to the circle settings, due to the kind of the endings that we usually have and the tendencies with the circles that we have this ending. So I like to see how far some of the teams were able to actually get, even with kind of questionable strategies.
We did see a few teams actually bomb into Impala pretty early on in this game. It was because lack of space to actually play from, and it's kind of, well, last resort. You have nowhere to play. You know, we can crash into Impala. We have to work our way out, and it's going to be rough, but you got to take it. One team that did a good rotation, it didn't totally work out because they got themselves 16th place, but Navi, they actually went all the way to the north side because they thought, hey, it's not going to be as many people over there. They were correct for the time being, but they were not proactive enough. They were not aggressive enough once they got up there. So a lot of teams actually collapsed on top of that, and they basically got sandwiched by 3 teams there.
Are we already in a position where we're seeing the just top 3 completely establish themselves?
I mean, I would say so. It's pretty certain. Obviously, we have some teams that are not playing today, so they can't really catch up or whatever, but they're accruing so many points already now with 7 games played for the teams that have that many.
Yeah.
And we're talking about a hypothetical cutoff of 79 points. We saw that at PGC. I think we're going to end around 85 maybe or something like that. And Exalt, they're 81. Liquid's already 74, so it's extremely close already.
What's scary with the 3 teams in the top right now, Exalt, Team Liquid, and Welcome to South Georgia, is that they have so many points right now that they can basically just go out and have fun. And we know when teams go out and just have fun, they don't really care about the points anymore.
Right.
That's when they get scary. They just literally go out and just steamroll over everybody.
Full shift W right there.
Yeah.
full shift W, slay a lot of people as well along the road.
So
and
the tornado energy strat.
The tornado, the tornado energy strat. But that has really damaging knock-on effects to all of these teams that are trying to compete for potentially the last 3 spots in the top 6.
And that's actually what some of the teams were saying. Like, I'm happy we're not playing the last days because we're gonna have some teams that are in that situation where they're like, they're pretty far ahead already, and we've only played 1 day. So I kind of understand that kind of mentality that you could be afraid or you would want to not play on the last day.
Let's talk about some of the other teams that were playing throughout that, of course. ENCE going out in around 7th place, I do believe. What did you make of kind of their little campaign here?
In my opinion, I don't think the 7th place with them and the 2 kills that they had, I don't think that kind of gave justice to how well they were able to play. Obviously, it's their home turf, but they were on the western side. They were kind of close to Liquid. If they had been maybe one more alive and been in a better position, they could have been where Phantom was at in terms of placement, but they went out kind of early. They got gate kept a little bit, and they got pushed from 2 sides, and like their position was rough because there was kind of an open space, but I don't feel like the 3 points kind of give justice to how well they were able to play and how they kind of managed to rotate around on the map.
Now they were also stuck on the south side there of the circle, more or less, where most of the teams were stuck on. So it was very stacked on that side. It makes it a lot harder for them to actually make that room. We know that ENCE likes to have a lot of room to work with. They want to have those flanks going on and stuff like that. But they didn't get that opportunity in the previous game here.
Oh, our team's shaping up here. Let's see how all the standings are so far, with Exalt up towards the top. So big points for them already. And like we've already mentioned, Team Liquid and WTSG currently sit in those top 3 spots. For TSM, not playing today. They're going to have to wait until tomorrow. So we'll see how all these teams are going to start catching up. Trying to see any of the big names from our Group C. See how they've done so far. The top finishing one. Northern Lights?
Northern Lights got himself a 4th place in the previous game. That's one of the teams. Except from that, I mean, most of the teams that got in the top positions were the teams from Group A that we saw playing yesterday. So I guess those kind of teams, they got very warmed up yesterday, and that's good to see. You don't even have 1 day to waste for that. So hopefully we'll see them step up a little bit more, the teams from Group A that was towards the bottom.
Definitely so. Team Liquid taking that first game. Teams like Unity, etc., when it comes to tomorrow and like trying to really step things up, are going to be kind of quaking in their boots, only having 14 points going into the last day.
Both win streak and Unity tomorrow, 14 points. Like, obviously, it's not too much of a difference compared to how Phantom was. They need to have the same kind of start that Phantom had today. We're talking 10+ points in every single game, maybe with a win of one of them with a lot of kills before they even have a chance to kind of make it into that 70+, 80+ club that is required in the top 6.
Like a 24-pointer.
It's not impossible, but it's going to be very hard for them to try to catch up. It all comes down, of course, you wasted a full day, one of the 2 days you have to play. I'm not getting enough points. And, I mean, you're putting yourself in that position. So if you do that, well, if someone like Exalt could get that many points, they should be able to as well.
And for 8 of our teams, this is their final Miramar game. So is there anything coming into our next Miramar game that is standing out to you? Anything in particular? Or
no, I mean, I think we've had some really interesting Miramars. I like, again, as
very diverse.
Said, it's been a curveball. It's been refreshing for me to see that, because it obviously we saw a lot of the same circles because we saw more than 300 games in PL. And then we look at the other, so we have the tendencies. But again, this is something that we haven't seen or only seen once before. So I like these kind of circles. And also, I feel like that's the kind of challenge you need to go through to prove that you're one of the best teams, or among the 6 best teams in the EMEA region, to go to the PGS and show that you're one of the best teams in the world. So I like these kind of hard circles.
What it's interesting to see as well is like the teams in Group C right now. If they can do good on Miramar and the rest of the games today, they can actually contest for a spot on, for example, Miramar against teams in Group B tomorrow. If they do bad today, you don't want to be contesting because you're putting yourself on the line. But basically, if you have the upper hand, you have more points than the teams in Group B, you're putting yourself in a position to actually make the decision who's going to be dropping where.
And that's actually super interesting tomorrow, because we actually have some contests that we haven't had the first 2 days. And depending on their performances today, the teams that are having their first play day today, ENCE one of them, and some of the other kind of challenge that they might meet, they might be like, either they will be kind of reluctant to be going in the place that are hot drop, so completely changing the drop, or they're going to be like, we're in a really good position. We have more points than our our potential opponent in our area. So we're gonna go because they have more to lose than other than we do. So that kind of mind games and that kind of strategy going into tomorrow is gonna be super interesting to see.
We just saw previously Raise Your Edge on screen before. Do you think that not the best starts for them? I think they got like 2 points or something.
Well, 2 point. No one ever wants to have a 2-point game,
No,
right? So
no.
it's kind of easy to say no. They're not proud of that game, but again, it's the first time they're playing with this lineup. Yeah, they're warming up, but you don't have games to actually waste on that. You gotta start performing right now. That was the first game done. Now start performing.
When 4K TVs become more popular, does Lost have to change his name?
Yeah, I mean, Sharpshot did go through the kind of same period
He went,
as well.
yeah, he went from
Sharpshot
SD to HD to 4K.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, so
it's a great idea, yeah.
Yeah, but I wonder if he's just gonna wait, or he's just gonna be like, I'm so committed to the HD kind of phase and era, the brand that
So okay, so the name with Lost HD is that HD was a name he used when he used to play another game, and then he started playing PUBG. He couldn't use just HD, so he just randomly added something and it became Lost.
Really?
Yeah.
So his name's actually HD.
Yes.
What does the HD stand for?
I don't remember exactly what it was, but
probably
he did
something Finnish.
Harvey Dent?
I don't know. But yeah, so I'm not sure he will be changing out the HD. If anything, it might be
changing
the
Lost. So he's going from like a Spanish to something else.
I don't know. I don't know what that could be.
Ella or La
HD. This is awful.
Yeah, it's terrible. But I like the story. I didn't know that actually.
I didn't know that.
I thought he was lost.
Do you think that's an interesting story?
It's one of the more interesting stories I've heard from
I think it's
Frost.
more one of the disappointing stories that I've heard. This is really his name? He couldn't have HD,
because
so he added Lost?
the reason why it was disappointing was because Frost couldn't come up with what HD actually stood for. So now
wait. Why are you called Froz?
Look, it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't.
We're not here to talk about me anyway.
It's an embarrassing story, isn't it? I don't know. Okay, so here is, of course, Raise Your Edge with their newest lineup, their newest acquisition.
And their new shirts as well. The grey ones, they look really good.
That's correct. They've had some pretty high peaks as of late as Raise Your Edge as an organization, so that's great for them. And I think they have a lot of faith in this roster. It's a star-studded roster, technically speaking.
I mean, it's a really good roster that we know about. We've seen like the base of the roster, but with the addition of Galaxy and Lost, of course, I think that could be a really good lineup overall. But they're gonna need some time right now. Time is not what they have in their hands.
Bolts.
On paper and in theory speaking, they're in our top 6 team here, no doubt. But it all comes down to chemistry, preparation, everything coming up to this.
Will it glue this quickly?
Yeah. So and again, they haven't had as much time. Like they were one of the last rosters to kind of finalize their roster before going into when we started our qualifiers and all this. Obviously, they had a spot guaranteed here, but the qualifiers for GLL, they were one of the last teams to kind of, before, if we had a roster lock or a roster deadline, they were one of the last teams to kind of finalize that. So they had the least amount of practice compared to some of the other teams that are here. So with time, they will be very, very good. But I'm curious to see and excited to see if they're going to be able to step up to this.
I mean, Lost was also the last addition to that lineup. Before that, they actually had another player that was supposed to join them. And then I think it was like 1 or 2 days before roster lock when they were like, that player's not going to join us.
Right.
So they got the problem, but they found Lost. Great addition to the team. And it seems so far that it's working out for them. Well, not in the last game, but overall, talking with them, they feel really confident with the lineup. They're having a good time together. Cool. So I still got high hopes for them, even though first game didn't go all the way.
Fist bumps all around. Seems like the teams are getting ready to get into our next game, Avenger.
How many fist bumps before the game is coming out through here? It's a crazy amount, right?
It's all fist bumps now, my friend. Fist bumps are all around.
It's the new meta.
It is the new meta. It's the new worldwide meta is fist bumps, my friend.
It's a foot shake.
The foot? No.
The foot bump.
Never will I do that foot bump thing that you showed me. That was the most ridiculous thing. Like 2 people doing a little dance together. Anyway. All right. Well, thank you very much for your patience, ladies and gentlemen. We are getting into game number 2, and it is our final game of Miramar for the day. After this, 2 of our groups will only have 2 more Miramars to go. So it's the third final one for the weekend. Let's get into it. It is game number 8 here as we go to Miramar. We're heading to Sims. We're heading to Pansy for all the action from the desert. Let's do it.
How did you come up with the name Sims? Wow.
Believe me, it was a long and challenging
decision, I'm sure. Quite creative too, right?
Yeah, I also didn't play any kind of video game that sounds somewhat like it.
Bet you did. Bet you made loads of houses. Lovely.
No.
Yeah, you did.
Where did Pansy come from?
Someone called me at once on a server because my voice was a lot higher, so they assumed I was just some small little child boy running around squeaking.
Oh.
Yeah, so I thought it'd be funny to tag up as it.
Nice.
They just kind of stuck. Yeah, so from north to south with a slightly westerly lean, and we'll have to see if we get a similar result. Liquid looking pretty on fire after game 1. I like the play, but there was certainly some other big teams up there. We had WTSG doing nicely for themselves, another top-end finish for them, so can't be too upset with that. But I want more from Raise Your Edge, from teams we're seeing just coming in from this, for example, Na'Vi as well, another name that I want to be looking at. Northern Lights, see if they can maybe get a little something shaken for themselves. Plenty to still be seen.
We'll take a look at some of the top fraggers here. I mean, nail up at the moment for Exalt, 16 frags, top in the board compared to anybody else. You spoke about Team Liquid, and honestly, for good reason. Between them, we've got, 40 frags on the board between 3 players. K-Mind and Mexi on 15. We got Jimbo down there on 10. Exalt still in there. Monkey 10. Edelweiss 10. And then it comes down to, again, to be fair, Exalt all over the place, double-digit figures. WTSG just sneaking in with, actually, all of them. Miraku, Ira, and Vad, 15, 10, 10, respectively. So it kind of goes, did he just tap him out the back?
Yeah, he must have done. Morpheus is gone.
You'd assume at this stage as well there'd be no helmets, that's why it's an easy kill.
Probably at most maybe a vest if you're lucky.
This is where people like to, if you grab a shotgun, who cares in the first minute of the, even 30 seconds of the game, because no one's going to have a helmet, no one's going to have a chest, and anything like that is just devastating. So that's an instant free kill. And
as much as PlayerUnknown can try and summon the island circle, he didn't pray hard enough. We're not near prison. We got a island on there. You got to work harder. All right, just tweak the settings, get it going. We'll all be loving it. And this could be another early kill. That door just saved the ass. Oh, a little late, Gaxi. If he gets pistol whipped, I'm going to lose my mind. Please. Why have you ruined all my fun, Gaxi?
He won't let that happen.
I love opening stuff, though. Love opening kills, love it to death. Give me the mask, at least. Pick it up. I get so mad.
2019.
Joe actually really upsets me. Every time I die in PUBG, because I have some nice skins. I like skins. I buy them all the time. I can't help myself. I want to look cool. And when I die in game, which happens quite often, the rest of my team are alive because I think I'm much better than I actually am, I get very annoyed when I see them picking up my skins. When I get you grabbing little mitts off my stuff, I see these little turds running around with my skins on. I
still wear the 2018 gear we got given.
Yeah.
The one that you can only get for a tendon for a player and such. And is it the Outland? Wasteland.
I actually don't know what they're called anymore.
It's the Wasteland gear.
I've got the nice red shoes though, which
I've got the whole set. Actually, I really like the 2019 gear because I'm a big fan of big hoodies and big necks and things like that.
You like big necks? Did you just say?
Yeah, I used to play a lot of medieval games. That
you like a chonker, do you?
Yeah.
You like a thick boy.
Looks like a bit of armor, not just a dirty, great big scarf.
Okay.
Or a hood.
Okay.
I like skins too, but that's what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, no, I've spent way too much money on skins. It's actually a meme. At one point in my life, when you get those months where you're very close to not making rent, definitely sold some skins in games to try and get enough to pay my rent. Feels good, man. Responsible adult. I'm almost 30. Southern Circle coming in, not too far south, just towards the west of Los Leones. And Raise Your Edge, if you want to see now what they can do with a circle favourable to them, this would be it. Now, it's going to be pretty action-packed, so I want to see them thrive in this. I want to see them, transfer those skills that all of us have been looking to see happen.
Well, look, we've got plenty of room to do it, so teams shouldn't be, even though we've seen 2 die within the first minute of the game, to be honest, teams shouldn't be encroaching on each other's position too much. Yes, we will get a few that are just taking a few pop shots here and there across the way. But, generally speaking, everything's in play. A little bit of water. Ents is down there. Not too many people, at least, should be taking that southerly coastal road. If you are, well, you're just going to be in for a bad time because circles should be going either towards the central or to the north, and it's going to be an uphill battle. Running those darker hills can be treacherous, especially with all the ridges that people like to sit on, or even the deep crevices that you'll be driving up. It can be difficult. Things like this we're seeing from Tornado Energy. These hillsides on the roads that provide good cover, more importantly, they provide good scouting and potentially an entrapment if someone wants to run that roadside. There are teams close. You can see Northern Lights are just on the way. Must have seen him, yeah. Turned and faced. 25 damage. Get in the vehicle and get the hell out of there. There'll be more teams coming their way, potentially. I think you see Regs are just on the end of this road as well. So we'll just kind of stick around these teams because we do have a third team driving up this road, and it could be a three-way battle.
It's really hard to not say something about that. We have a lot of teams running that way. I'm actually hoping no one else decides to go for it. I think we will see Unique swinging slightly further west to south, so not opting to take that main road in. It's probably seeing and hearing some of these shots off the hillside is certainly ringing bells. Everyone's going to be opting for that area, just the west road leading out of Los Leones. Pretty much everyone's there. This then kind of flips things on towards the likes of WTSG, where they're going to position themselves. Na'Vi, Phantom, El Giganten, they are not within the circle currently, and they actually don't have any shot at prime area. They could definitely play outskirts though, and that's what I'm going to be looking at, is how some of these teams do when they don't get given those nice positions to work with instantaneously. Good covering fire coming out from Tornado Energy, however it's not good enough because there's other people watching, and from some distance as well.
This is the team that I spoke about. Rahina are just down the road. They made the entry point and they decided to keep on going. They heard the shots and says, you know what, well, it's time to get involved as well. Northern Lights still have it. Hit him in the head. That'll knock him out of the car. Stops him for a second. Melman, you've just got to switch over and drive at this point, buddy. You ain't saving example. He's dead and gone. He's free, but unfortunately not for much longer on game number 2. 60 players still remain. There's only 4 deaths. But again, with this much land, I'm quite surprised we've seen these little scrapey battles, to be honest.
Yeah, teams really fighting for very, very specific areas. Did you ever watch Gladiator back in the day?
Which one are we talking about?
The Gladiator.
The Gladiator.
Yeah, the film.
There was 2.
The film.
Oh, no, I know you. Yes, I did.
Yeah. Isn't the song like Now We Are Free or something? You know, he's walking through the field.
Oh, where he's like touching all the corn
yeah.
and stuff.
Corn prices. Yeah.
That's all we'll be living off. That's going to be it soon when all the food's gone.
I shouldn't do a wheezy laugh, should I? That's not good.
All the food's going to be gone, and it's like, oh no. We'll have to go back to farming now, boys. It's fine.
At least you're from the north. You've got to, you know, you'll be fine. Great.
We're used to it. Cultivation. I'm a fan.
But no, I watched Gladiator again recently. Very good.
It's a good film. It's a solid
Bloody
one.
Brilliant film. Really nice. Loved a bit of that. Yeah. I'm a little distracted because, honestly, as much as there was those early fights, I don't think there should be too many casualties at this point unless someone does something a little silly or doesn't scout correctly or simply over peaks, because there's so much available here. A lot of the teams went for those more contested areas, and that's it's bravado, arguably greed, arguably looking to have good position down the line. Raise your edge, quite spread apart, but in some of the best area here. They've got control of the church, it looks like, and a very complimentary position off the side. But they need to, again, be careful. You do not want to get picked up here. You do not want to lose out on players, especially in those sort of wider splits, because even picking them up at this point, it's pretty tricky, and it looks like we've got a bit of a pull-up. Northern Lights here, testing the waters a little.
I think he'll try and back off. I'd expect Rahina to really take an advancement on this one, which they do. Perfectus is down. He'll instantly be dead. Northern Lights are the only one I think who can see him, unless there is another team. Yeah, that tracer fire is from afar. Raise your edge. Might be able to get him from the bell tower. Linksy hits it on a dime, steals the point.
Was that worth it? I'd love to understand the logic and the intentions. Obviously, we don't see the information that they have. Oh, and Northern here, that's including Picardo, so you can see where the cutoff of teams currently is. Look at Liquid, Na'Vi, they're kind of the northern cradle of things. Everyone else towards the south is okay, but there's a lot of room now for these teams to maybe expand if they'd like to go north, if they feel they need to. Phantom are definitely going to slot in towards that. They 100% should, because you wouldn't expect these teams to be sitting towards Picardo at this point. It's not a favorable area to maintain if it is that southern hit. You'd be expecting that roadside to still be probably quite a likely ending. And the one thing I want to look at again is the room that WTSG can hold. If they want to, they can gatekeep a lot of teams if they want to go east, and Liquid can do the same thing. They control so much area here.
You spoke about room. I'm intrigued to see how many teams decide to go for a 2-2 and overstep their boundaries and keep more of a grasp on certain amounts of areas. Landlock is a big thing, especially for this kind of circle. We don't have any ridge lines or cliff faces that are going to do too much damage and dictate where the circle goes. So pretty much with the road that cuts from northwest down to southeast, goes through Los Leones, that main road, you've got a strip of teams, Northern Lights, Raise Your Edge, EYG, all those are going to be banking on that circle, potentially landing on their head somewhere. But then if you kind of think of it as an L shape from those, you move from EYG, then go up through TL, Team Liquid. We do have a good area of where this circle could pop, but generally this is anyone's game. This will be a fun one because no one has exact coordinates, exact figures. Honestly, you're going to have to just deal with what you dealt in this scenario.
So, Thinking Man's team, if you are looking for a way out of the south here, you're going to aim for slightly further west, purely because it's probably going to move away from Los Leones. It's not 100%, but it's a common factor, a common trend. It moves slightly away from there. And really, there may not be too many people around that area. There's already 2 teams out towards the west in the more extreme areas, but I think most teams can slot in here unless they try and go a little bit more greedy on this. Exalt going to lose out on Monkey. Bit of a shame for him. El Giganton on the move. This is kind of towards the east of Picado by that bit of a crater. They'd been chased down by phantoms, if I'm not mistaken. And actually, on the side of things, Exalt really are suffering. I'm not sure how they're losing out on players so readily. I'm not able to get the full picture on that one, but it seems as though they are finding not much form here.
They are split, though. I don't know if they're in a 2-2 or what, but they're just playing the dirt tracks of Los Leones, all those little broken garage compounds, and actually what's on your screen right now. Yeah, they're a bit exposed, either from elevation. If you're on, let me think about this one. If you're actually on the rocks above it, you can visually see down through them. So unless you're hiding behind the oil drums, you are exposed. If you come out, there's only ones that have a sealed level 2 flat on the garages with the stairs that you can go up that you're really safe in. Apart from that, the windows are fairly open, especially on the fronts with the cracked ones and the broken ones. There's a front side and a back side to it. If you're just bobbing, weaving, ducking, diving, or even moving around and traversing through them looking to get further into the circle, they're not the best place in the world. Quite a lot of people drop there because the loot's free and easy. You know you're going to get something at least once you go in there. But yeah, they are difficult, and unfortunately for Exalt, thankfully, they've got a tank load of points. At this stage, if they get a couple more on the board, maybe top 5, you'd have to assume that they're qualified. So at least that leverage is with them.
El Giganton might lose out on Ghost Star here. Yeah, he's in all kinds of trouble. Carl's on fire and plenty of people looking his way. This is WTSG shooting off towards the south of him. A couple more bullets find a home and he might be done for. A northern hit, that's going to really shake things up now.
That's fun.
So everyone who opted to sit further south is now going to be real pissed at this circle. So the likes of Raise Your Edge, who I'm consistently looking at, they are a very, very big team with names that you want to see results from, are now going to have to play into the circle. Anyone who was quite slow coming from the north, so actually Phantoms, get a bit of a cheeky way into this because no one's sitting up there. Picado is completely absent of players so far. Liquid reshuffling. We have seen those endings south, kind of, I guess, southwest of Picado, that little hillside. Who was it who popped off? I think it was either NIP or someone went absolutely wild in those fields. I'm trying to roll my mind back to it during PEL, quite the time. Now we're going to see WTSG working their way forward, going to claim a nice building of the southeast. Exalt going to be shifting past them. Liquid in the 2-2. Not surprising, they love a bit of that. But they might have to give that up because there's so many teams in the south going to be coming through their way. It looks like Ents, Unique, all going on the long swing. I can imagine pretty rough territory and terrain around Chumacera. That's not an easy one for them to get through, but they're all going to be running a similar direction.
Whenever you land Picado and you look out the backside of it straight to the north, you just see hills. You can't see anything else but just a cliff face. This being in that predicament there with the roadside running straight through and cutting on the circle, there's no real rotate. You can't rotate north. You're either going to go up the western embankment and then come in off the main road of Picado, in which case you're going to have Rahina. Any teams that want to sit Picado, Navi are going to be out in the open towards the more broken buildings. It's difficult. You've basically just taken off one complete rotation path.
Here we go. Northern Lights are already in this compound with at least 2 of their players. I think Batulins is further off in the distance on his own, but they definitely heard the pull-up. They definitely know at least 2 players are here because the car pulled in as well. So Spyro better be ready because there's now people coming. He's going to tuck himself into the corner, hoping maybe Batulins can help him out because neither of these teams are in the circles. They can be working past each other. Linksy in the car, Deep's hearing all of this. Coda Menta backing out, and somehow they've actually gone away with no contact made. Linksy could be stabbed in the back. Batulins now is going to be called into attention. You might have someone coming your way. Here comes the call. Spyro's seen a great deal of this. Batulins, I think, is aware now. The Deep, does he see him yet? He hasn't made any noise, I don't think. There's patience might be his virtue here. Gonna have to be very careful as to when they strike. And it looks like it's go time. Now the Deep needs to be swift. He needs to land these shots cleanly. That's good work towards Lynxy. Spyro now joins in. This is looking deadly against Razor Edge. If the nades are good, this could be game over for Razor Edge. They have to be so aware. And where's Batulin's in this? He has to support them. He's coming up the hill, getting there as fast as he can. Help from afar. Unique comes in. That's a doozy, claiming Lynxy's points. His body goes down. He's done for. And now Spyro, 1 HP. The Blues coming in the hill. Just about gets it off in time. He's a lucky boy to be alive.
That is super, super lucky. Razor Edge, so you know what? We've lost one and Unique coming in the distance. Let's get the hell out of there and just kind of keep what we've already got. Consolidate the team. You've lost one.
Oh, Diggery just found Batulin's.
Can really do.
Northern Lights have been absolutely battered. Batulin's was holding the position the Razor Edge are about to rotate towards, and now the rest of the fight begins. Pokemoldoy is there. This is Unique turning up to the fight. Lost HD bites back, though. We want to see this man frag out. We want to see him in a position to do well. And with the circle going back down south, they have time to play this one out, but Unique are in a good spot, but pretty open. You can see the frags coming in, and the Northern Lights go down. They could not capitalize on the chance was in front of them, but Coldamenta way out in the blue in the cold. Razor Edge not coming out of this cleanly at all.
It's a good response and they pick up points while doing so, but as you mentioned, to have 2 players left and one of them bleeding at the wayside in the blue, they now have to get through Unity. Coming down from the hill and striking when the time was perfect, it's going to cost them points, and more importantly, it's going to cost them people. Ends time to move. All 4 players up, but for how long? You have to run the dungeon gauntlet. There are so many teams that are going to be looking at them and batten down the hatches on these open fields. Honestly, you've kind of just got to play with it. They may take a ridgeline. Who knows? Coldamenta from the back. Here we go. This is go time.
He looks like he wants to rumble. Lost HD is on the verge of facing down against some very scary boys, though. Going to spot out one. That's going to be surely a pickup. Good connection, but not great. Does peel away from this, maybe feeling that he's about to be outnumbered. A doozy's there, a swift turn. Does ward him away for now. Lost HD now needs to work out what he wants to do. Coldamenta's gone down, so it's just him. He might go into survival mode. If Coldamenta managed to do a bit more damage, maybe he could have worked off the back and gone for the frags. Not to be the case. There's vehicles there. He might make a run for it. Here's the push coming in. Nookie holds the angle bit, gets tagged, has to fall away, find a new way to look towards the enemies here.
Rahina will have to take this fight. All of them just pile into the building. The big grenades are there. Land. Ooh, if that had gone in, that would have been devastating. We'll go for the second follow-up, potentially. Misa has the info. He counted them. Ents. This just feels like a finished standoff at the moment with Rahina be able to see ends, possibly. Lost HD did somehow, by hook or by crook, get away and land himself in the little compound. You can see there in the bottom of the screen.
Good disengage.
I think it was just because of the call from losing Coldamenta like that. The second he went down, the turn tap was fantastic. To actually push that one player back that managed to hit him with no health. That was a beautiful little shot, but we have to focus on these fights here. Ends hold the line because of the circle. They're on the roadside, and all these teams have to come that way. That nade is good. 3 HP, you lucky, lucky boy.
Now, we still have 15 teams alive. This is actually pretty wild. This is going to get pretty hairy for a lot of these teams. Ents, this isn't good. We want to see big performances from Ents, and losing Rostamar at this point is far from perfect. They were locked in that awkward south-western battle. Not too long. That in-game name, let's see if we're going to remember it. Exalt getting on the scoreboard here. Shiv going to start winding up a bit, but they're playing with 2. They lost out on a couple of players in a bit of a wide split, so they might not be wanting to get too much attention here. There's Na'Vi finding a couple of the stragglers around the map.
I understand why Rahina will want to take this fight, just so they can move and just so they have a bit more room to be able to do so, get the vehicles and then rotate out of this scenario. They're up on the edge of the white, and that's what makes it so difficult. Generally speaking, unless they get the hard shift, the circle moves, then they're just in a completely lackluster position to rotate out of. Even if you try to evacuate and escape the building, you've got YMCA, you've got Ents, potentially Elegant if you want to go the way of Picado, but it all depends on the circle.
Yeah, WTSG are about to be waiting down that hillside. I don't think this is going to be too pretty for Blaze. Miraku's going to find one. That's a flush to follow. Nice little pickups. This is a slaughter out here. VOD doesn't need to overextend. It's done. They're dusted. They're out in 15th. You blink, you miss it. The new circle hits. We're going towards the southwest.
You see RIP at the top of the kill feed. Unfortunately, that tells the story for all of Blaze. Might be the same for Elegant. 2 players hit the deck. You can stick the smokes out as much as you want, boys. They're coming down the mountains, they're coming down the hills. Any grenades are going to be rolling into those crevices, and you are in trouble. Misa, rest of Rahina, time to go. They're getting out of the backside of the building before the rest of the teams can. If they go over this hill, though, well, Giganton will be hearing that. You can see both players have now turned. Norkis, Ghost out. They have to answer this one. One player overextends a little bit too far. Marsalek, though, might be able to have the angle. We spoke about these grenades, be able to roll into the gap. Does he get out? No, not this time, but there is damage done.
Yeah, and this is horrible for Giganton. Temi, they're going to mop that up every day of the week, and they're holding it for now. They're not actually in the new circle, though. They have to get past El Giganton. There's a little bit of a problem in the fact of Marsalek, as you highlighted, but they've drawn a lot of attention. You can see everyone kind of looking their way. Once they crest that hill, it could be easy pickings.
Well, I know you've always...
WTSG towards Liquid. Hold on. Here we go. Aura going down. It is game time. It's go time. If he's just been knocked. Jeeves now needs to hold the line. He gets down Vard. That's actually going to be stolen away from. That's Melman. Everyone is looking towards this. Miraku did find Jeeves. This is such a messy battle here. K-Mind going to disengage back just a touch. Has to find a way to stabilize here. The nade went towards Mexi. Liquid are losing out. 13. They've lost out on the other 2-2 split. They're burning alive. Phantom has taken this. Mexi, Ibia, unsavable. K-Mind is on his own against, I'm pretty sure, WTSG here. What can he do? Phenomenal performance in the last game. Cannot deliver this time.
There is a second player there, at least to get the return frag and save him, but WTSG and Liquid, both of these teams have been smashed to bits. Liquid's off the server, unfortunately. WTSG has one player standing. At least they managed to claim something back and keep one in the game to get the placements. Getting into the top 10 is absolutely critical. Yes, you have all these points, but who cares? Until we get down, until we have a winner. In fact, I am talking complete garbage. I had no idea that WTSG had this backup reserve players moving up the hill. So they actually keep 3 up. They get Vard. Okay, that's a completely different story altogether. I thought they'd been killed off in a different fight.
For now, let's see if they can get all 3 players in the same place. Oh, just at the end, Melman. Why are you ruining it?
And then stolen. This is just a...
It's pretty mad here.
What a
Na'Vi.
mess.
Now, I wanted to say what happens to a team when they don't have the perfect way in. Na'Vi had another tough way to get into this, but look at the position they've slid into. They were one of the teams who came in late and took that kind of north, I guess, western area once it kind of looked like it was moving away from Los Leones towards Picado. They were quite lucky into that. But now let's see if they can capitalize down the line. Ensa trying to hold for the kills just behind that hillside. They're going to pounce when they can. They're safe from the back for now. Now you see an Exile making the run. That's Shiv making the mad dash. Going to try and find anywhere he can in safety. He's sending it. You got Tornado Energy fighting towards that. He could be knocked any second now. 4 HP is all he has, and he might have just made it to safety.
Squeaky's going to sit here and hope that they move. Shiv's going to get some contact rather soon. EYG are on a rotate. You can see it on the map. Shiv needs to hold this one. Get inside. Use the safety of the shack for now. Vard, Ira, Flamey Anonymous. This is good for WTSG. The smokes are up.
Diggory, get ready.
You've got a lot of ends players waiting on this one. That is all the utility committed. They either get out of this or they're dead.
11 teams about to get cut into very few pieces. Here comes the push. Diggory's on the other side. They're running the smoke wall. He sees one emerge. He punishes them. Is there a follow-up? He doesn't need it. He's got his teammates beside them. Squeaky's there. It is a real slaughter here. And now suddenly, the man on your screen, unable to do much. What is that nade? Was that from Na'Vi? Diggory is lucky to be alive, and this might buy some room. It does! Tragedy strikes at the worst time for Rens, and I feel like I say that far too much. A swift little steal on the points, and it's good work. Claiming onto the small amounts they could, but Na'Vi's starting to build up. Starting to look deadly, starting to look dangerous. Lost HD finds Squeaky. Fin on fin action. A little bit of a crime in that fact, as WTSG are working with limited numbers. I think Iro's still alive behind him. He is. Vard's getting the heal off, and they just about stay. Lost HD finally goes down, but he made it into the top 10 as a solo. Well played to stay calm under the pressure, but who's still standing? Phantom, 9 kills! Where have these guys come from? We said on day one, where were they? They weren't highlighting like this, and now they're starting to come into their own.
When you push a team up against the brink of extinction, they turn around and do wonderful things. Oh, losing D's like that, it feels like the curse of the caster. Response will be there, though. Buster takes one down. This is good for them. They needed the points, they needed the kills. 12 kills is fantastic. Coming off the back of a second placement in the previous round. This is exactly what they needed. You touched on it. WTSG, they've heard all this. They've seen all the commotion go down. And for them, that's just a homing beacon. That's more bodies and more points they can put on the board. But if the Phantoms, they're feeling it.
No helmet, almost no vest. If he wins this fight, it would be somewhat of a... He's got to catch him off guard. There'd have to be some timing or something. It cannot be just a clean one-to-one fight. Now, 4 teams. You'd argue Na'Vi have this one. 4 alive. Good positioning. But if everyone piles in and that circle moves away from them,
It's so cruel. It's so cruel.
Okay, so if you're Na'Vi,
oh no,
the smart thing to do is wrap north, which I'd imagine they're going to at least try to do here. It's got the most amount of cover. It forces the fight towards Buster and Ubika, and then it becomes that awkward kind of domino effect of that eastern ridge line. Tornado Energy could walk out of this probably in the better position. They have no fights coming their way. They can wait for whomever makes it out of this alive, who gets maybe a couple kills towards Na'Vi, or Na'Vi gets through them. Whichever way this works out, you've got to feel if Tornado Energy play this right, they can almost ignore this battle for a little while until the end game.
I can't believe you mentioned it and it happened just perfectly on a dime like that. But they're doing the right thing. They're moving as a team. No individual stragglers. They will move as a four. By doing this, they're going to put people out of place. By doing this, they may also force these engagements in the backlines. These two players, these two teams, these stragglers that are left over, the remnants from the previous battles, might be forced to engage, and that does them favors. That makes more gaps. That gives them the cover of gunfire. It also gives away information of how many teams are actually lingering behind there, because they don't really know.
Everyone's prone down this ridgeline. No one wants that fight. I'm glad that it was actually Liquid who mentioned it. I think it was K-Mine said how they were kind of keeping track of the kill feed. I'm pretty sure everyone is aware in this lobby that Na'Vi are up with big numbers. And they are the team that were in that position. And this is your smart man's bet. They know where they're going. But no one's peaked Na'Vi. So Na'Vi are actually taking quite a high approach on this. They're not going towards the dangerous side of the kind of blind peak on the, I guess, backside of the hill. They're looking up and over. First bit of contact made, Ubika goes down in the instant flush. No trade comes back in. All these teams are on notice. And now here we go. WTSG find the remainder of Phantoms. Buster down. Doesn't need to be flushed. They're dead. Now Na'Vi want to fold into this. They know where the information's coming from. And that's where Senya's going to strike. Ira's going to suffer for it, but Vard still stands. It's a matter of can he do anything? No. Na'Vi are swift and decisive, and we have just two.
Yeah, this should be a simple, clean sweep. And for Na'Vi, it's just 3 points on the board. They had 6 before this engagement. They can probably make this 10 once they take down 2 players off the side of Tornado Energy, unless they do something stupid. But with the amount of room they have to play, and with the amount of players, more importantly, it would be a monumental task to take down 4 players of Na'Vi. I don't care if it's a new roster. There are some big boy names on there we've seen for some time. And we know exactly what kind of level of damage they can put on.
Yeah, for Tornado Energy, if they had an Orm, if they had something to give them that one-shot big potential kind of window opening, sure. They don't, sadly. And keep your eyes on the map. Look at Na'Vi's positioning. It's complete lockout. They've sat center of the circle. This is gatekeeping 101. They need to not over-peak. They need to play it calm. They can wait for that circle to force the hand of Tornado Energy. And Tornado Energy are just trying to make something happen for themselves. And the way Na'Vi are playing this, it's going to be very hard for that to happen.
I like how you said that, because, I mean, generally, the AR, DMR, it's the meta. It's what people do. It's generally, it's just, they're so forgiving. You can just keep on firing and keep on getting the frags. But the sniper rifles at this late game, trying to take helmets, trying to get a pick. If you've got enough players and you've got one who's just a phenomenal sniper, a phenomenal marksman, removing a scalp or two, removing a helmet can be so critical. Take away pieces of armor, take away pieces of utility. Tornado have to put the smokes down. It's time to run. I can already see Bestaloch cycling those grenades. The bombardment soon for Na'Vi will begin. 4 times sprays, they're good, but honestly, against 4 players of Na'Vi, I don't think this is going to be great.
No, and I don't think they found a way in. Those smokes might give them a small avenue. Let's see. Again, they've managed to stay alive for now. Melman's going to make the run. He's working for...
Ooh, bonfire.
Okay, just going to sit in the Molotov, I guess.
They're going to give it up.
To the blue.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Job done. Na'Vi, well played in the end. Got to say where it is. They held it well. They moved out as a unit. It's nothing flashy, and honestly, I know it sounds weird, but I kind of expect that from Na'Vi sometimes. They're a bit of a machine in the way they play. It's methodical. It's clinical. They're never, the crazy team. They never do something that's going to just kind of change the world. But what they do is they play clean PUBG. They come in, they play the outskirts, they work their way down. They are the CIS just machine, just churning through the map. And they played it well at the end there. They stayed calm under pressure, no mistakes made.
Well, I mean, that's what you want from 0 to hero, 1st to 16th. It's a rebound and a half, you know.
Yeah.
Many of these teams, I say many of these teams, some of these teams we've seen can go down at the first few games and keep their heads down, and then you never see that. Once they go underwater, they stay down there, and they don't manage to pull themselves back up. And Na'Vi is that team that it's just another game, it's just another dropping the ball scenario. There's still more to go and just move on. And with a response like that, it's what we want to see, especially from not necessarily a new team, but a new roster, gelling together and making things work.
I also want to say, I think the positioning worked out well for them. The circle kind of moving back up towards Picardo gave them a really good way back into that game. But, you know, when it comes to Na'Vi, I don't think they're going to ever make a mistake of seeing an opportunity and ignoring it. So I'm glad to see it.
Fantastic, isn't he?
Absolutely. So glad to see that and glad to hear it. Let's head from us down to the interview.
Thank you, Lauren. Thank you, Sims. I've got Na'Vi with me, and Besto, we've got to start straight away with this one. Is very quickly, it went from like 10 teams to 4 teams in a space of a minute, but you guys managed to keep 4 alive. What was going on with your communication? Did you manage to just stay, okay, we'll hold back a little bit?
We just stayed in the middle of the circle, and we have to farm everyone from left, southwest, east, and we just communicate between sides and trying to kill as much as possible.
Now, the first game was pretty tough for you guys, but you bounced back and come in with a win here. Is it just getting used to this LAN environment, getting yourselves more comfortable?
First game was just prepare before this game, and we are going to have same results from game to game.
Same results from game to game, so now it's going to be the championship, right? So you're going to go for back-to-back wins?
Yeah, we will try.
We will try. You went from super confident to maybe not so confident with this one. But looking at this team overall, right, how happy are you with being able to get a win early on here? Because especially with you guys, this is the first day you've played compared to other teams who have had a bit more chance yesterday to play.
I think it's only second game, and we have 10 games more, and we have time.
You certainly do have time. Well, I'll let you use that time to get ready for the next game as well. We'll go on back to the desk. Na'Vi have taken a win here. Let's see if they can grab some more.
What just happened? What was that? Bestalosh gave really reasonably long answers. This is amazing. James Banks has some kind of superpower. Congratulations to Na'Vi, of course, and congratulations to James Banks for a great interview. We are back here at the desk. I have Frozen Avenger with me. Na'Vi do Na'Vi things, it seems, as they get themselves a victory here on Miramar. And after the roster changes, seems like all good and dandy in the yellow camp. Very nice to start things off.
Yeah, I mean, really good getting a win in the second game they're playing with this lineup. We saw them in the last game, they're only getting 3 kills, but this makes up for that and more.
Yeah, and now they're ahead of 3 teams that played 6 games. So it's looking really good already. Yep. They're already climbing the leaderboard quite fast. If they can keep this kind of pace up, he said they wanted more, they wanted one more win at least today, and I think they didn't expect the circle to be this jumpy. But they actually managed to play it really well in the end. They were aware that it was open and on the northern side, managed to sweep, keep 4 guys live. And in the end, where Tornado was there, they had a really good line set up and managed to secure one of the kills from that.
But you can also see how good they were. Like, they were keeping the trigger fingers on hold there. Bestalosh just taking 1 peek, tagging them down Tornado Energy in the end there. Making sure, okay, if they just look, are they going to push us or are they going to stay there? If they are not coming, we just peek once, take 1 shot, tag them, that's all we need to do. And the discipline is there for that team. It was a great lineup from Na'Vi towards the end there. Just holding, make sure, don't lose anything. Don't throw this game away.
It's not like the first circle was free for them. They started far north, the most north team, and then had to rotate down into that position. And as you were mentioning, Avenger, the circles were extremely sporadic. Hard shift after hard shift after hard shift. So accommodating for that can be quite treacherous.
Right, but what I was kind of surprised to see that we didn't see the crashes in Phase 3. Usually you want to breach around the Phase 3 as the latest. If you do it in Phase 4, you're going to have too many other teams close to you, but that's also why we saw so many teams go down that quickly. We went from somewhat like 11, 10 teams alive to 4 or 5 really, really quickly because everybody waited until the very last moment to actually do like a proactive push or breach one of the compounds, and it ended up being very, very chaotic towards the end.
Points coming in for match 8. This one's going to be more top heavy. Not many points there for our bottom 7 teams as we got 1 through 8. Na'Vi with 20 points. Team Phantom once again 16 points under the belt, and then we have the BTSG with the 14. Team Phantom like a poltergeist today. Jeez, rattling the plates, throwing them everywhere, picking up the chairs. What's going on? Yesterday was nothing.
This is another team than what the Phantom we saw yesterday. They definitely stepped it up yesterday. 7 points. First game today, 12 points. Now 16 points. I mean, I don't know when is it gonna end because it's just going upwards right now.
They have quadrupled the points from the 2 first games here compared to the 6 games yesterday. So, but I'm happy to see that. I mean, the players are capable of stuff like this. They have the skill, they have the mechanical aim and everything with it, but yesterday it just didn't click for them. Hopefully they're able to step up. They're already in 9th overall with 35 points, so it's nice to see a lot of damage coming out from all the boys.
A lot of Na'Vi. Yeah, for sure. 3 of the 4 members in the top 5 there, so brilliant performance by them. And actually, that is kind of what, I mean, even with a roster change for Na'Vi, that's kind of what we always come to expect from Na'Vi. Turrets blasting everything when they're able to get a comfortable position. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you want to do, right? You get comfortable, you just start shooting at everything that moves. It doesn't really matter. And we saw that kind of with Team Liquid, for example. They went a little bit of ham. They tried to do that 2-2 split. Very greedy. In Circle 5, they're holding 2 different compounds towards the edge. But they were like, why not? It didn't work out at all.
It was the play was definitely to B4 in the southern compound because they could have pushed onto the hill where Tornado was in third party that fight and third party WCSG where they came from. But they got crashed by WCSG. They probably didn't have a vehicle that are strong enough and fast enough. Right. Most likely didn't have a 2-seater ready to kind of go for that, or they were just greedy because they're sitting in a pretty good position right now.
All right, well, thank you very much, gents. Time for a short break here. And before we do that, of course, and before we get into our next team, which will be Sandhawk, let's hear from Group C as to what they think coming into the qualifiers here for PGS.
We feel pretty relaxed, need to be calm and focused about the game, so we don't need to stress about anything, just to play our own game, so we'll make it to top 6.
Usually we warm up in deathmatch or training mode, 30 minutes, and then we play official games.
We have 2 new players, so we don't have that kind of a good routine yet, so maybe we figure out something before Saturday games.
Я могу сказать, что это, наверное, самая сбалансированная группа из 3. То есть она не сильная и не слабая. И, в принципе, есть те, кто могут нам дать отпор, и есть те, кого мы вообще не боимся.
This tournament gonna be a tough one. It's probably gonna be the hardest one out of any tournament we played on. But we play scrims and tournaments smaller ones, and I think we are prepared for that.
Есть хорошо знакомые команды, Unique, Sauna Boys, ENS, про которых мы знаем, как они играют, и готовы к их передвижениям. Все, специального ничего нет, либо я не скажу.
Мы считаем, что конкуренция будет у нас приблизительно по очкам с Na'Vi или, не знаю, с Na'Vi. Мы достаточно много работали в командном плане, так что я думаю, все будет у нас хорошо. Надо еще в топ-6 заходить, и вот тогда будут ощущения неимоверные.
Welcome back to the desk. Whether it be Dzień dobry or Tervetuloa, all of these teams here across Europe have a huge wealth of what they actually bring to the table, but a lot of our teams also have one nation represented. Joining me to my left-hand side, I have Froz and Avenger. And I, guys, briefly want to talk to you about this, of course, because you've got a lot of these Finnish teams that are all Finns. You've got Elgiganten currently, who are all Polish roster. And actually, Europe has this unique dynamic where we have such diverse, use of languages and things like that. And you do see advantages for these teams that are all practicing in one language compared to, say, a Raise Your Edge that's practicing in English, and they're all from different nationalities. So it's nice to see these teams be able to rise to the occasion in previous kind of tournaments.
For me, there's like kind of two sides to the coin of it, because one thing is being able to kind of communicate in your mother's tongue, but sometimes that also creates over-communication. You become too descriptive. You become like kind of too deep in that.
You start memeing.
That's That's why I like we have the European teams that kind of start a mix. They are on the other side. They are like very precise in their communications, etc.
Let's take a look at the standings. Exalt still up towards the top. However, of course, they did not do that well in the last game, so they didn't really gain that many points. So WTSG and Liquid were able to gain a little bit of traction during all that. Not Liquid, of course, because they bombed out. And then Tornado Energy with 57 points there as well. Adepts has moved up into 6th place, but of course Inside Games is not playing today. Not that many points coming in for some of the teams from Group C to start off the day. Froz, down towards the bottom.
Yeah, I mean, it's rough because some of the teams that we saw from Group A yesterday, they played really well yesterday already. They got very comfortable where they're positioning on the leaderboard, so they just keep on steamrolling on people. And if you come in as Group C, you got the nerves, everything's going on, you got a new lineup, you want to play, you want to show up big time in the start, and then you have a bad game. It's going to affect you. And, I mean, that's kind of what's happening right now. We see from some of the teams.
I think that's why also some of the teams said, like, we like playing back-to-back because you kind of keep your momentum, you stay warm and all this kind of stuff. But also, I think that's why the advantage of the guys that are playing that played yesterday and are playing today is that they're coming in against... Yesterday, both teams were cold. Now they're warm, and the team they're playing against is kind of warm, if you can say. They're already warmed up, and the other guys have their first day today. So I feel like, obviously also because of skill, but that's also why we have some of the teams that were playing yesterday on our top.
But that's also why it comes down a lot to experience, and why we see a lot of the teams picking up people or players that we already know, because those players have the experience coming into a LAN, what it actually means, coming into a big stage like this and playing on this level.
Team Liquid wins Game 1. Navi wins Game 2. That is 2 names of PEL 2019's Big 5.
Yeah.
Do we now have to call it a Big 4? Has G2 picked up a roster anymore? Or
no,
is
we don't have G2 with us anymore in PUBG at the moment, at least. So, I mean, I guess
are we changing it to a Big 4?
Well, yeah, we could say it's a Big 4, but it's also old lineups when we had the Big 5 compared to what it is today.
That's
or
the very
we could say the
thing.
Big 6, because the 6 that will qualify will be big.
Is that what we're doing?
No, I don't think so.
No,
That's also pretty bad, yeah.
We'll have to establish it throughout the year, I think.
It's going to come naturally.
So
let's not force stuff like that. It's going to come naturally, you know?
Yeah, I'll take that, yeah.
But coming with the next game here, Team Phantom, 2 games so far.
Yeah.
They got themselves 28 points. They're in the lead for today. They haven't gotten themselves a win. They got 2nd place in the first game, 4th place in the second game here. And now, moving on to Sanhok, we saw them with slow rotations in both of the first 2 games. I want to see them go ham straight away. Because we're playing on Sanhok, it's going to be action full out from the start. You can't do a long rotation, wait for circles. You got to take those fights straight away. And, I mean, hopefully they still won from the last 2 games and they can keep on doing what they did there.
Action-packed. Bring the tropical thunder is what you want, I think.
Yeah.
The tropical thunder. Of course, as we take a look into Sanhok, there is only 1 game of Sanhok per day. And yesterday, the circle was brutal. It was not easy to deal with. We can only expect what circles may be.
It's going to be the roll of a dice today as well, maybe.
It was disgusting
even
yesterday.
if it was a rough circle yesterday, we saw TSM dominating that, getting himself the chicken dinner with 14 kills, and 2 of the players, Brexco and Jempty, they had red dot SKSs throughout the game. If they had better scopes, let's say a 4x, for example.
Sure.
They would probably have doubled their kills, those 2 players.
This is actually a more prevalent thing on Sanhok, I imagine, right? Being able to establish your position early. Is that something that is far more important here on Sanhok compared to the other maps?
It depends a lot on the circle. Yesterday we had the northwestern circle, It's kind of one of the roughest circles because you got to cross the river in any way, and you have so much high ground over there as well. So you want to make sure that you get into a good position, because if the circle moves away from you, it's going to be a
excited.
really
I was
rough
going to see the plane. Maybe
Calm down,
no,
Avenger.
oh, no, yeah. Let's see it. Come,
no,
show map. No, 15 seconds, though, so we're going to be starting early. No, but again, I think, and what I would recommend these players, they need to see this game as a lottery ticket. It's only 2 games. They're going to 2 maps. 2 times they're going to be playing on this map, so they have to just look at it, try to get as many points as possible, and then be done with it.
Avenger, mountain, river, road. That is what we're talking about. All of the factors of PUBG going into Sandhawk. It's time. We're going to game number 3 of the day. It's Sims and it's Pansy. Let's bring the heat.
I never know what to say about that. He's just very excitable, isn't he, James?
He is, but I like it. It makes me excited.
Oh, it's cute. Does it make you guys at home excited?
I hope so.
Okay. Anyone who's excited, put 1 in chat.
Oh, you're not really in chat, are you? Don't do this, Lauren.
Yep.
Don't
1 in
do
chat. I just want to see if they're excited by it. We are going from east to west, a little bit of a north lean to it. Now, I think we got a weird look at Sandhawk yesterday because it worked out really well because it went to the kind of hillside on the northwest island, and it was quite fun to watch, but it's not what we expected coming out on Sandhawk. So I don't think it played to the strengths of some of the teams, so we'll get to see, maybe not particularly ideally, but we might get to see a normal game here and maybe an easier idea of what's meant to be happening.
I think one of the things that has to be said for Sandhawk, and this is no detriment or disrespect to it, the circles are very linear. You know, with the hillsides, with some of the open areas, we've generally been 3 to 4 quadrants on this map, unless we get something weird, wonderful, and wild like yesterday, where we see this upper corner circle come in and pop, then it can make things rather interesting. You see a bit of landlock going on, a little bit of bridge camping, a little bit of edge play, and it was a really nice ending, to be fair, to go from the circle, to go from the centre up until the little cliff sides, and then to that one tiny compound, and TSM were just so proficient at playing it and how they played it. It was wonderful to watch, and you called it off the start, why bother bridge camping? I mean, I suggest it could have been a possibility, but they played it almost perfectly. This time, it's not too far. It is in the north, but it is this time on the eastern side of the island.
Yeah, and I meant west to east. I said east to west. My brain's real slow right now. Real slow. Got that 2-head going on.
I noticed it, but I thought, you know what, you've said it with enough cadence. Yeah. Like our job generally is that people will believe it.
Yeah.
This is like me saying that eventually NA is going to win a world championship. If I keep saying it with enough cadence, people will finally believe it.
You're just pandering to the NA crowd. You're like, if I support them.
We've got Lost HD back now. They're buggered. We had a European carrying them to victory. It's not going to happen anymore.
Yeah, I am actually really excited to get to cast him. Hopefully some more. I love the prospect of what he can do. He's a really fun individual player to actually play off the back of. Now, looking at this circle, God, Na'Vi just have so much of the east there. Look at that. That is masses of territory. If you want to simply look at the positioning of it, it's pretty phenomenal. You have pretty much all of the east in their control if they get the timing right. Otherwise, they're going to get absolutely swamped. But you look at someone, for example, any of the teams coming off the I'll make sure you get it right, southwest island, they can have a bit of a rough time. There's a lot of people transferring that way. So Tornado Energy, great positioning. Liquid, really good. WTSG, really good. Phantoms, again, good positioning here.
And the one thing for Na'Vi in a scenario like this, you don't have people playing edge. Edge of the island. You know, you don't have these roads that will run around the edges. You don't necessarily have all these big little cities that can be uniquely placed on there to allow people traversing and using that route. So for them, it's really just kind of chill for now. You could sit here, you can do the widespread like what they like to do in Erringale and pick up the loot and just kind of wait. You could potentially say you want to go a little bit further in, maybe take a fight, but why bother? You've got plenty of time, which is kind of the opposite end when you're looking towards people like Northern Lights, Unique. Yeah, everyone down at the south is going to have to move fast. I'm interested to see how Raise Your Edge play. Which way do you go for this? Because they're on their own island that's kind of split off, the one that's down to the south. So they can either take the island we saw yesterday and go up north.
Just go through the little bridge.
Or they can just smash boot camp. They know Liquid likes to move early. They know they're gone. You can actually traverse around boot camp and use it for cover and come out of it. Yes, it is. If you've got a team waiting on the hillside.
Sure. If FaZe were here, maybe.
But you do have a fair amount of hills there and like the rice fields that kind of shift up on the top of it.
Look at the little one. Why did you leave it?
Shoot him. Shoot him.